Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Nerdhers. My name is Rich,
I'm Nick.
and today we're talking about a big event in the DC comic universe.
A big thing has happened in DC
Yeah.
Comics, and we have to talk about it.
Yeah, we do.
I read comic books on a weekly basis. You read comic books
On a once-a-year basis, maybe.
almost.
Yeah, like I don't read a lot of comics.
But a big thing has happened in DC, starting with this book here, DC Universe Rebirth, which came out today as we're recording this. So let's set it up a little bit.
Okay.
What does that mean? DC Universe Rebirth. I'll tell you. So essentially, about 5 or so years ago, an event happened in the DC Universe called Flashpoint, which I believe we have
Nick's got
right
a whole
here.
whole presentation.
Whole
for
presentation.
us
I forgot my
today.
laser pointer, but I'm still going to tell you. An event called Flashpoint happened where Barry Allen decided to go back in time to stop his mother from being murdered, and he succeeded.
Okay.
And this caused a flashpoint,
Okay.
which was basically a massive butterfly effect in the DC universe that caused this event to happen. And in this event, basically the entire timeline of the DC universe was changed. Crazy stuff happened. Like, as an example, because of the timeline change, instead of Bruce Wayne's parents being murdered, Bruce Wayne was murdered. His mom snapped. She became the Joker. His dad became Batman. That's an example of something that happened.
I feel like I'm listening to Doc Brown explain to Marty the
Crazy things.
the cause in Back to the Future 2, everything that happened. Get this alternate point.
So that's an example of one of the crazy things that happened because of that. So Thomas Wayne was Batman, Martha Wayne was the Joker. And so Barry Allen, who is the only person who knows about the alternate timeline, the timeline that we knew, the DC universe that started in 1930 whatever, with Batman and Superman. He's the only person left that still knows that because he's from that timeline. And he's trapped in this new timeline.
So are there two different timelines running simultaneously
The
then?
other timeline is...
Or is it just erased it?
I mean, technically,
Okay.
the timeline that he's in, it has erased it in that course of time.
Okay.
Right? And so he convinces Thomas Wayne that this is what happened, that in his timeline, his son is still alive, that he died, and he decides that that sounds like the better version of the world. And so Thomas Wayne, as Batman, and Barry Allen work together to fix the timeline.
Okay.
And they do.
And is that New 52 then?
But they don't entirely fix it.
Oh, okay.
And that became the New 52, which started with Justice League issue 1.
Okay.
So DC did this. It was basically a hard reboot that they called the New 52. And the point of this was to introduce comics to new readers while also keeping old readers.
It was like, for people like me who are like, oh, I want to get into comics, but I don't know where to start because they're at issue 500, whatever.
Exactly.
And now I can start from issue 1.
So they started all over. Everything started at number 1, like this here, Justice League number 1. There was 52 new comic series, but it was very confusing because they wanted to please old fans and have new fans.
Yeah.
So some things that were working at that time, you know, like story-wise, critical-wise, fan reception-wise, stayed. Other things changed. It was kind of confusing. It kind of worked out for me because the Batman stuff sort of stayed but didn't. And it was kind of like, how come some things are the same, other things are different? But this is the world we live in, and for the past 5 years, this is what we've had, to varying degrees of success. I used to read all of the DC universe, and over the course of this 5 years, things lost my interest, and I was really only reading the Batman family of books. So in a way, the New 52 was unsuccessful for me, and it was unsuccessful for a lot of people. So then the announcement came of DC Universe Rebirth, which was once again going to restart the DC Universe. Again, another reboot. And it was just like, my reaction, we talked about this on the show a few months ago, was I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah.
Like, again, like, and then how am I supposed to believe that you're not just going to do it again in a couple years when you want to spark up sales again? But the way that this issue plays out, written by Jeff Johns, who was just named the head of DC Films, longtime writer. He also wrote Flashpoint. He wrote the Justice League.
Now, do we want to call spoilers here?
Spoilers from here on out for
Okay.
DC Rebirth. Good point. And sorry, you're going to get it spoiled for
No, I don't care. I'm sure it's... I'm not going to read it.
So essentially what has happened in the comics leading up to this. So in the DC, the end of the New 52, there was a big event in Justice League called the Darkseid War. Some other stuff was happening, so basically a big fight with Darkseid. And then today, this issue came out. An issue of Superman, issue 52, came out, and one other thing that kind of laid out the end of the DC universe.
Issue 52 of Superman? A new 52 issue of Superman? Or the reboot of Superman? Which Superman are you talking about?
I'm talking
Is
about
52?
the new 52, issue 52.
Oh, okay.
So,
it is actually issue 52 of the new 52.
It's kind of amazing that the timeline of this whole reboot worked out this way, but essentially every ongoing series that was rebooted to number 1 is now ending at number 52.
Maybe they had that planned. Probably not.
Maybe.
Or they would decide at some point.
I don't think it was always planned that way, but maybe at some point, whether it was a year ago, 2 years ago, they decided once we hit issue 52, that'll be the point where we go. So anyway, what happened is, to boil it down to what happened at the end of the Darkseid War, essentially the big event that has happened is this new 52 Superman dies. So Superman has died again in the comics. He died as Doomsday. And then in that world of the new 52, the original Superman is revealed to have always been there.
Okay.
But not choosing to be Superman anymore.
That's interesting. Okay.
So it's the new Superman, though, with the death of he's going to become Superman again.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the new Superman, but he's the old Superman.
Okay.
All right. But anyway, what the big events that happen in this is this issue follows Wally West, who do you know who Wally West is?
I have no idea who Wally West is.
No idea who Wally West was. In the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
in our 80s,
Yeah.
an event in DC Comics happened called Crisis on Infinite Earths. It was
Okay. That sounds
It was
familiar.
a year-long event, and at the end of it, to save the universe, Barry Allen,
Mm-hmm.
you know his name,
Yes,
Flash,
the Flash.
he died.
Oh, so that's just the new Flash.
He was the Flash. Wally West was the Flash from 1986, essentially until 2006.
Okay.
For 20 years, he was the Flash, but we know Barry Allen's name
Mm-hmm.
because of the TV show, etc. But Wally West was, for most people our age, he's the Flash.
Mm.
And when the new 52 happened, there was no more Wally West.
Went back to Barry Allen.
It was Barry Allen. And so this issue is following Wally West, who has been caught in a time paradox, and nobody remembers him. He's trying to reach out to people in the New 52 to be like, this is not our timeline. This is not us.
Like
Something happened.
Like in BVS. It's like, hey.
Kind of, yeah, a lot like that.
Hey.
It actually opens up, funny enough, it does open up the start of this issue with Batman at a computer screen and Wally West reaching out to him. So it is a lot like BVS, actually. Spoilers for that movie. And he's trying to find somebody to latch onto who will remember him.
Okay.
Because he has been forgotten.
Mm.
And he starts explaining through narration that he explains that the Flashpoint paradox and Flashpoint changed the universe, but it didn't change it entirely. It wasn't Barry's fault. Somebody, when the timeline, when Barry and Thomas Wayne reset it, somebody messed with time and cut out 10 years of their lives and removed people from the timeline. And he's like, we don't know who that is. And this is news to us as readers.
Okay.
This is them explaining how when the New 52 happened, some things were the same, characters were gone, somebody messed with all of this. And he's like, I need to alert them that this is not our timeline. I need them to remember me, and we need to fix what has happened. And so this is all really interesting. So it opens, he's trying to get Batman to listen to him. Batman doesn't remember him, and because he doesn't remember him, he gets pulled back into the time stream.
Oh, okay.
And then he tries to reach out to who was his wife in the original comic runs. She doesn't remember him. He's pulled out. He tries to reach out to a couple other characters, and then finally he the time paradox brings him to Barry Allen. And Barry Allen is also not remembering him, And it's gotten to this point where he's been pulled in and out of the timeline so much that he starts to die. And it was actually like a super emotional thing, and he's like starting to die, but he's thanking Barry for giving him the chance and making him, helping him become the Flash, blah, blah, blah. And like, I was like, God, they brought Wally West back and they're going to kill him. It was actually like really emotional scene. Like I almost, got a little dusty in the bedroom when I was reading it. But then all of a sudden, like as he's starting to disappear, Barry Allen says, Wally, and then he comes out. He's pulled out of it, and Barry Allen, he remembers him.
Okay.
And so now it's starting to be reset. And so now what at the end of this is that Barry remembers Wally is now in this universe, and they're going to work to fix everything. And also find out who messed with the timeline. But we find out in the epilogue who is responsible for messing with that timeline.
I was going to say, that was my next question. So was that... This is then... So going forward now from DC, like, they're trying to figure out who's messed with this timeline and stuff. Okay.
And reset it and make everyone else remember and find out what was missing.
Okay.
But we find out in the epilogue who that person is. And I was like, I'm racking my brain. They're like, it's somebody more powerful than Darkseid. And somebody
I read a rumor about this yesterday.
It's more powerful than that.
So I'm curious if it's who I think it is.
The answer is revealed at the end to come from this comic, The Watchmen. And it turns out we don't know what the motivations were. We don't know how he was part of it. We don't know anything. Dr. Manhattan, old blue schlong, is the guy who is responsible for changing the timeline. That's the big reveal at the end. So Dr. Manhattan, potentially the Watchmen, have been pulled into the DC universe.
Yeah, which they've been a part of, but not really.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Because it's DC Comic, technically.
DC Comics put out Watchmen, but it's never been a part of canon of the universe. Okay. They're not in the DC universe. Yeah. This was just DC published, The Watchmen. So big reveal at the end. There is also, if you remember, we talked a while ago that the Joker's identity was going to be revealed.
Yeah, is that revealed in this?
Yes and no. Batman uncovers that there are 3 Jokers.
Okay.
But he does not know what that means, and he doesn't know who they are.
Okay.
And that's it.
It doesn't tell you who the 3 Jokers are.
The images of it, you see essentially the New 52 Joker. You see what looks like the Cesar Romero, or whatever his name was, from the 1960 show looking Joker. Okay. And then the more traditional Joker.
Well, which one is like the Jason Todd Joker?
None of that. That's never been done in the comics. It was done in the Batman Beyond movie, and then it might be happening in the DC movies.
Okay. I thought that was like also like a small run or a comic run or something too, wasn't it? Oh, okay. I don't know.
But he might be seeing images of 3 different Jokers because of the timeline type thing going on. I'm not sure. But so they didn't exactly give Joker an origin. They didn't actually reveal anything. When they said that his identity was going to be revealed, that was kind of a lie. That was like a headline grabber. But we'll see what that means. But really, I think for a bunch of other stuff happened in this issue too. Aqualad was outed as gay, and some other stuff happened. There's a new Green Lantern that's a girl. She's a character from the Darkseid Wars. I mean, there was other stuff, but those are the big... The big thing is that Wally West is back, and that Dr. Manhattan is behind.
So is there going to be a run called DC Universe Rebirth? Because this has issue 1 on the cover.
No.
So where are they going to go from here to continue this story?
There's a fancy checklist in the back. So essentially, next month, what starts is, again, the issues are going back to number 1s. Okay. But so it's basically like there's a new run of Batman, Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Superman, Aquaman, Flash. All the comics are getting new creative teams, and all of this has been mapped out. Like, every creative team had to sit down and map all this out with Jeff Johns.
To sort of fit this.
And to plan where it's all going to go. Okay. So that it's all going to be connected, it's all going to work. But there's not... Usually with this type of thing, you're right. Like, when Flashpoint happened, there was a Flashpoint event, and there's like 8 issues of Flashpoint, or 6, or whatever it was. And then all of the comics tied into that for 6 months. They're not doing that. There's no... This was it. This was an 80-page, $2.99 spectacular. And this is also, for the foreseeable future, this is the end of Jeff Johns writing comics. Because now he's going to be busy doing movie stuff. This was kind of his swan song.
See, this is, for me, like... you told me about something like that sounds really interesting. Like I'd love to read that, and then it's like, well, then you got to get all these other things. I'm like, it just sounds like so much work, and so I got to keep up with all these different comics if I want to keep up with this whole thing.
The thing
and where
with
it's gonna
the
go.
comics has always kind of been yes and no. You can kind of follow the characters you want, and if you want to know how they're all connected in the universe, then you also read Justice League or you also read the Avengers, and then that'll all spill out into the other books, and then you can choose to follow, you know, just Batman stories too, and get the. But you don't have to read everything. But the interesting thing about this is the point of the New 52 was to get new readers.
Yeah.
And the point of this does not seem to be that way, because if you were a new reader trying to read this, it would be very confusing.
This sounds to me like it's trying to get back the readers that it lost with the New 52.
It 100% is. It's not just Wally West in this issue that is reestablished as somebody who was gone. Like one of my most classic examples of New 52 and a negative fan reaction was I was at a MegaCon a couple of years ago in Orlando, and Dan DiDio, the chief operating officer of DC Comics, the editor-in-chief, was doing a panel, and this guy got up and asked and said, why did you do the New 52? He was wearing a Superman shirt, old man. Why did you do the New 52? This new Superman is not my Superman. And this guy, this grown man, started crying.
Yeah.
And like me and my buddy, we sat there and we snickered. We're like, come on, guy, like get with the times. But it wasn't his Superman.
Yeah.
His Superman didn't go away. You can go back and read this 800 issues of his solo series and go watch the Christopher Reeves movies. And at a point, it's like, you know what? We need new stories. But at the same time, like, stuff did change, and it was kind of sad that I stopped caring about Superman too. And now that Superman is back, and that's fan service. That's for the fans. And Wally West is back, and that's for the fans. But it really, the thing about it is, if you read this and you are a fan, and you read this issue of Rebirth, it really, they do it in Jeff Johns really set up a really compelling way to do this, to explain why things were different, to explain how they're going to course correct, and I can't wait to keep reading it.
Yeah, like it sounds really interesting.
Really
like
good.
this,
Like it was an emotional issue. The art is fantastic, and it's an interesting thing. Like, how does Dr. Manhattan fit into this?
Yeah.
Why would Dr. Manhattan do that? Like, how does any of that work? What's going to happen with that? Like, it really is an interesting time. I mean, it was a damn good issue of a comic. It really was. I'm excited to read it again, and it's the first time in a long time that I've spent time speculating on what in the world could be going on in the DC universe.
Like you came out and you're like, okay, I finished it. I want to talk about it, but I want to go read these theories and try to like get my thoughts in order before we talk about this.
It's a lot to wrap your mind around. Really, it is. There's so much of it that is. It's pretty fascinating stuff. But what I would say, so if you're watching and you just wanted to know and you wanted to see if you should read it, if you have not been reading comics in a long time, this is not a jumping on point for you at all. And I kind of respect that DC is doing that. This is for the fans.
Yeah.
This is not for the new people. And that's cool. And they heard their critics of the New 52. And the Batman run in the New 52, I think, is the best run of Batman that's ever been done.
Really?
There are great things in the New 52, but there's a lot of stuff that didn't work, and they lost a lot of readers. And I think that they didn't maintain the new readers. So they had to do something, and this might be the fix that's needed.
So you don't think even starting, they're going back to Super #1, Batman #1, that would even be a jumping on point?
I'd have to read them to see how they do it.
Okay.
To know. But, I mean, if you were like, all right, this is the start of this new universe, I've never read comics, I'm going to dive in here, you're going to be you're going to be confused. Like,
but somebody who, has, a semi-knowledge of what's been happening, someone like me, who, knows about comics, who knows the gist of what's been going on.
Starting with this?
Yeah.
All right, so you've seen all the movies, you know all the characters. Yeah. You didn't know who Wally West was, and this entire issue follows him.
True.
I think that if you read it, you would be confused.
Okay.
Or it wouldn't compel you in the same way. Or say, it
wouldn't have the same meaning as, someone like you, but...
But you're a fan of the Watchmen, so, that has to be,
yeah.
How does that play into it? But I'm sure there would be plenty of people who are like you who didn't know who Wally West was, didn't see the Watchmen, don't know the Watchmen, and then that end also means nothing.
Sure.
Because they don't even show Dr. Manhattan.
Oh, really?
They show the art reflect. I mean, I'll show you how it looks.
Okay.
But the art reflects. It looks like the Watchmen. You see Mars, you see clocks and stuff, and you see the movement, and it's very apparent that it is him. And that's the other thing. Batman finds a pin. The
Watchmen pin.
comedian
Okay.
But as you can see, like you see that it's Mars.
Oh yeah.
You see the clocks turning, and then you see.
And it ends with the.
Not the pin, but time, with looking like the Watchmen thing.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll Instagram it. Well, that's a spoiler, so we won't do that. Pick it up if you want to see what it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, if you've read it and you're watching the spoiler
you have
discussion
to,
about it,
but that's what I mean. You have to know more about the Watchmen than just knowing the blue guy to even know that it's Dr. Manhattan they're referring to. So, but it's really good. It's going to be sad to see Jeff Johns not writing anymore.
Mm-hmm. Who knows? He might be doing. He co-wrote the
Batman.
Batman
Yeah,
movie.
I mean, he's doing the Batman, but I mean in comics.
Sure.
The reason that I got back into comics was when they did Green Lantern Rebirth back in 2005 or whatever. That was him. That was his big like superstar breakout. That's what got me back in, and now he's gone. Still part of DC, but he's gone with the comics.
He might come. But that's now. He goes off and he.
Oh yeah,
He sets the ship for the movies, right, and that all go, and then Jeff Johns returns to the comics, and then they have a whole big to do about that.
Probably, because you have to assume. I've always kind of wondered this, and then we'll wrap up. I assume Kevin Feige makes a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he's in the Kevin Feige position, and he's going to be making a lot of money. Like, he probably made a decent amount of money writing comics, but they're not millionaires, these comic book writers.
No.
He's going to make a lot of money, and then once he's said and done with that, say the DC movies start faltering even more somehow than they are now, and he unceremoniously fired, like, he might not go back to it.
If that happens...
He might not ever... And part of me hopes that... I've always wanted to see, like, what he and some of my other favorite DC writers would do at Marvel. And what some of my favorite Marvel writers would do at DC. So I hope, honestly, if this is the end of his DC run, course correcting in the last 5 years, it's a nice way to go, but it'd be crazy. It'd be sad not to see him come back to it.
Yeah, but I mean, you get someone like that who, has written for comics for so long, like, when they don't do it, I'm sure they still have that itch, this would be a cool story to tell or something. Like, there's still, like, I write stuff and, if I don't do it for a while, I'm like, you just get that itch again to jump back into it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
and if you're in that position, like a Kevin Feige position, it's like, this has been good, but I want to do a little bit of this right now, and I don't think there'd be too many people who would tell him no.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
Time will tell. But as for now, that was a brief discussion on the DC Universe Rebirth. If you are a comic book fan, and a DC fan in particular, and you gave up on the New 52 and you're watching this, give this a shot. Because I have a feeling, a hope, that they are going to fix a lot of what you might not have liked. But we'll see what the future holds.
Yes, we will. Indeed.
Cool.
But if you want to keep up with any of our comic book thoughts, or whatever the case may be, you can follow both of us on Twitter. He'll be tweeting more comic book stuff than I will.
Yeah, maybe I'll start tweeting more comic book stuff since we don't talk a lot about it on the show. So if you are a comic book fan, follow me on Twitter @Stonks.
I'm on Twitter @RichBelson. The channel's on Twitter @OABeer_official. You can email us at overbeerofficial@gmail.com and find us on Facebook at facebook.com/overbeer. We're on Instagram as well, over_A_beer. And YouTube, of course, youtube.com/overbeer. This Tuesday, less than a week away,
coming up,
will be our very first beer review. So if you've watched, our news segments and stuff on the show, we do every show over a beer, and we'll always review it at the beginning. We'll just have a brief little back and forth. Oh yeah, I liked it, I didn't like it. Well, we're going to be doing a little bit more in-depth beer reviews every Tuesday now at youtube.com/overbeer, so you can check those out if you would like. And of course, if you enjoy these videos, please like, share, and subscribe. What are your thoughts on the new 52 Universe I was going to mix all that up. The DC Universe Rebirth and what they've done. You can go ahead and leave comments below, and we'll of course respond to those and have a discussion with you guys if you'd like. That'll wrap things up for today, though. So until next time, drink up.
Buttermilk.